Welcome back. Let's review briefly what has happened in the last 8 weeks.
Many of you are smoking 20 or more cigarettes a day. You chose to participate in the Cooper-Clayton method to stop smoking. You realized you were going to discontinue smoking cigarettes and start using the nicotine patch, the nicotine gum, or the nicotine lozenge. You made the transition successfully. That's great.
At one time in your life, each of you was a non-smoker. As you smoked cigarettes, your body got more efficient at eliminating nicotine. In order to keep blood nicotine levels high enough to prevent withdrawal symptoms, you had to increase the dosage over time. As you know, this is called tolerance. For a period of time, many of you may have smoked about 10 or 15 or even 20 cigarettes a day. Over time, your body continued to become more efficient at eliminating or metabolizing nicotine. Some of you raised your daily consumption to 20, 25, and so forth. When you joined this program, you made the transition from the cigarette to the patch, gum, or lozenge as your only source of nicotine. For the first few days, your brain did not like that change. Pretty soon, however, the amount of nicotine you were getting from the alternate source became adequate.
You've shown that you can get comfortable with the alternate source of nicotine. That's the first big step. You've already started reducing your dosage of nicotine. We're ready now to talk about further reducing nicotine intake.
People in our smoking cessation groups have often described a very similar timetable. At about 6 weeks off cigarettes, ashtrays become very repulsive. At 6 to 8 weeks, they begin to complain about smelling stale tobacco smoke on someone else's breath or their clothes or their hair.
The thing we have heard often is, I enjoy the freedom of not having to leave a meeting or a building to smoke. I don't miss seeing how people reacted to me as a smoker. Some people treat smokers rather badly.
It is a joy to take a deep breath and not cough. The ability to breathe is probably the thing the smoker places at greatest risk by smoking. You can replace many body functions. Don't give up your capacity to breathe. If that happens, all quality of life will be gone. You made a major positive change in your life when you laid down the cigarette. Although you're still using nicotine, it is in smaller and smaller amounts. By doing so, you have significantly reduced the risk to the one body function that is critical for any quality of life to exist, the ability to breathe.
We hope you've recognized how much your identity changes as you go from being a smoker to being a non-smoker. You don't realize the price you were paying for being a smoker until you're no longer a smoker. Those of you who are identified as heavy smokers can anticipate that perhaps other people will attempt to become non-smokers because they've seen you make it. We remember attending a graduation ceremony at a small church deep in a holler in Appalachia, 10 miles from a major road. 30 of the 80 members of that church had successfully become non-smokers. When we asked what had been the most important influence in their success, everyone pointed at one man. They said, we all knew if he could do it, we could, and we would. The graduation ceremony took place in the commons room of the small church. 1 week after the graduation, the church voted to prohibit smoking in that room. Shortly thereafter, the church voted to make the entire church ground smoke-free. One person can make a huge difference. You've made it, with some struggle perhaps, but the fact that you're continuing to make progress towards being a permanent non-smoker will encourage others to use you as a model.
In addition, you will experience a new assurance. Many of the people we have worked with see the Cooper-Clayton method as perhaps their last and best hope to overcome their addiction to nicotine. Well, you are succeeding. When you get out a few weeks from cigarettes, you'll get an increased degree of self-confidence. We want you to have that self-confidence and assurance because you're doing what may be the most difficult thing you will probably ever do. Once you experience that sense of accomplishment, you will probably start looking for other things you can do to enhance your life.
Look at the other aspects of your life. For one thing, be aware of the type of food you put in your body. Read the ends of boxes. Look at the serving size on the things you eat and reduce the fat content in your diet. The eating of fat is an acquired taste. If you've ever seen or been around a small child who was given fat for the first time, I bet they spit it out.
When I stopped smoking, I found that the taste of butter was no longer attractive. I used to cover up almost everything I ate with butter. I found that what I was doing was overpowering my taste buds with butter, a lot of salt, and other seasonings. This was necessary because my sense of taste was totally overwhelmed by the 30 cigarettes I smoked each day. Now that you're no longer smoking, let your taste come alive. However, be careful. Don't use overeating, lead to weight gain as an excuse to relapse back to smoking.
A smoker is accustomed to rushing through a meal to get to their cigarette. Now that you don't smoke a cigarette at the end of the meal, you may have a tendency to keep on eating. There is not a clean break point to finishing a meal. You should do something to make that clean break point. Get up from the table, go in the bathroom and brush your teeth. Come back and sit at another place at the table. Put a finish to the eating part of the meal. Have yourself a cup of coffee or another beverage. Don't just keep on eating because you're not going to have a cigarette to smoke.
The smoker is accustomed to overeating and then smoking a couple of quick cigarettes to allow the stomach to empty more rapidly. The first few times they overeat after they stop smoking, they found out they are miserable.
Utilize the very practical tips we've discussed in previous sessions. Those of you who took our advice and started walking will have fewer problems with weight gain. If you perceive you may have a problem with weight gain, you might want to seek some nutritional counseling.
Remember, when you were smoking cigarettes, each cigarette lasted just 5 minutes. If you were smoking 20 cigarettes a day, that's 100 minutes. Use some of that time in a productive way. Use 40 of those minutes to walk 2 miles a day. Use the other 50 or so minutes to do things you may have continuously postponed. For example, think about the people who have been a big influence in your life and you have never taken the time to tell them. Consider writing a personal note to those folks who have played a special role in your life. Tell them how much you appreciate the influence they have had on you and your life. There are a lot of things you can do with your time that are positive and can increase the quality of your life.
All of you are now poised to claim your victory over cigarettes. Those of you using Nicoderm CQ who smoked more than 10 cigarettes per day should be switching to the 7 milligram patch next week. Don't let your brain trick you into smoking a cigarette if you need more nicotine. Use additional pieces of Nicorette or the lozenges.
Remember, in just a few days, maybe as few as 8 or as many as 14, your body will get comfortable again with the reduced amount of nicotine it is getting from the nicotine replacement product. It will not be easy, but it will be manageable. You've now spent 8 weeks enjoying your new life as a non-smoker. What a great feeling.